So I have this perfect programming process, and now I'm going to demonstrate how it can be used. I'm going to develop a small and simple tic-tac-toe game played in the browser. And as the process says, I'm starting away from the computer. I have no computer near me. I'm just going to use pen and paper in my notebook here. So let me get started. Tic-tac-toe. And let me just draw a small diagram of it so that I know what I mean. There, we have a tic-tac-toe game. And it's a fairly simple game. It's played on a grid of 3x3 fields, like this. And then we say, okay, one player uses X's and the other one uses O's. We could have a typical game here, OO, XX, and now we have a winner. That was simple enough. I think I understand the problem now.
And that was the first mistake. Hi, it's me from the future editing this video that you are watching. You will probably notice that I'm making a few mistakes when following the process, and it doesn't really end that well. And this was the first one. I don't really understand the problem. That's the first mistake and the most serious one. But I will make several other mistakes throughout the video, and I will pause myself and interrupt and talk about it here, so you'll know what not to do when you follow the same process. So let's get on with it.
Let me get on with the next thing. Understand the solution. Figure out how the game is actually played. So the rules of the game would be: first, player 1 sets a cross, and then after that, player 2 sets a circle or a O or whatever we call it, and then we check if there is a winner or not. If there isn't a winner, then we loop around and continue. I think this winner, no winner is a bit too magic. I should really elaborate what actually goes on and how it's determined if there is a winner or not.
This is actually a really good observation I make here, and a really good idea. Unfortunately, I don't do it well enough. I barely scratch the surface of this larger problem hidden inside the original.
So how do we know this if there is a winner? Really, I should be checking more in depth, because there could be a column of tree. There could also be like if we have another game here, X, 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 and some random O's. There could be a row of tree, and there could be a diagonal of tree. So rather than checking this no winner, we would say, okay, is there tree in a row? If there's tree in a row, then we have a winner. Otherwise, is there tree in a column? Then we would also have a winner. Otherwise, are there tree diagonally?
Unfortunately, this is still not enough. These are the rules for deciding if there is a winner, but I haven't really figured out how a winner is determined, as I will figure out when I try to program this.
And otherwise, if no winner has been found, then we loop around. So that is how the game is played. Now I'm ready for my next step: make a plan. So I'll take a different color and mark the various parts. First, here is that the player selects a field and sets a mark. And then there should really be a check for if the player won. So I'm going to add that. Okay, I forgot that. So I'm just going to insert here, check if player 1. And that will be the same as this part here. So we have a check if the player has 1. Then, of course, the computer selects a field, and we have this check here if the computer has 1. Check if computer 1. Like this would be for the player, this would be for the computer. One would check for X's and the other one would check for O's, but otherwise I think it's going to be the same code. We have 4 different parts. The player selects a field, we check if the player has 1. The other player, the computer, selects a field and we check if that has 1. And these 2 parts would be very, very similar, if not outright identical. So, on to the next part. Know what you know. And I'm going to come clean here. I actually do know how to write the tic-tac-toe game. I've written several over the years, so I'll know exactly how to implement every single part of the solution.
I'll soon come to realize that I actually don't. But I still agree with the next thing that I say, so I'll let me keep talking.
But for this demonstration, I'm going to pretend that I'm not that experienced. I know about variables, for loops, if statements, arrays, and how to interact with the HTML in the browser. But other than that, I'm not very experienced for this video. So I will have to follow the process and not just invent everything inside my head or remember earlier solutions I made. So let's get on with it, figure out what I know how to do and what I don't know how to do. Letting the player select a field. I know how to do that. That would be something with a click event and displaying something in the field. I know certainly, I know exactly how to do that. Checking if there is a winner. It would be something with, I need to get 3 fields and check if they're all selected. No, I'm actually going to say I don't know how to do that. And that would of course be the same for the other one. I don't know how to do that. Letting the computer select a field would actually... it shouldn't just select it. I need 2 parts here. The computer selects a field and then it selects a random one and then it selects that field. So this would be 2 parts.
It is actually okay to change the plan here. Of course, it would have been better if I had discovered this earlier when making the plan, but it's perfectly okay to take a step back and do it now.
And that would be before marking that field. Setting the field for the player, I know, and for the computer, it would kind of be the same. So once I've done this, this should be fairly easy. So I think I know that. Selecting a random, I do know how to get a random number, but I'm not sure how to select a random field. So now I'm going to say I'm not sure. I'm marking it down. I have an inkling, but not sure. And this one would be, of course, the same as I mentioned, as I don't know. So I have at least 1 part that I'm fairly sure, one that I'm not too sure, one that I don't really know, but I think I can fake it, and 2 that I don't know at all at the moment. Cool. Now I'm ready to code the game, or rather, begin with the end. I'm going to build the HTML and CSS for the game, and for that I'm going to use the computer. I'm ready to create my first files, my index HTML and my style CSS. Tic-tac-toe to make sure that everything works. Tic-tac-toe. And style, just do something. Background color, it's not supposed to look like this, but I want to see it running. So where is it? Here it goes. There's no color because I forgot. And here we go. Okay, so get rid of that color again. So the end, what I'm going to need. I'm going to need some HTML. I'm going to need a board. And inside that board, I'm going to need 9 fields. I'm going to use buttons like, then they would be easy to click. One would be an X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And now all of them are X's. Some should be O's and some should be empty. So let me take a look right now. Yes, that looks absolutely awful. So let's add some CSS to this board. I think if I put it in a grid with 3 columns, let me just say of 4 M's each. That looks a bit better. And then I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to give all of these buttons here the class of field, just so I can style them. Dot field. Let me set an. I want them to be square, aspect ratio 1:1. It looks a bit better. And let's use a larger font. Oh, it's a bit too large. Font weight. A bit too large. That went pretty well. So now I'm going to pretend I know it all and build the structure for my solution here. For the JavaScript, I'm going to do the same here, create a new file, script.js, and make sure that I don't make the same mistake and forget it. So include it here. And just to make sure that I can see console log, script running. And let me take a look here. Yes, it's running perfectly. Now I'm just going to pretend that I don't know much about programming, that I'm not that experienced. So I'm not going to use functions, but rather just write comments for everything. So I'm going to take my plan here and say, okay, the first thing is that the user clicks, and then we mark clicked field as belonging to the user, and then we check if user is a winner, and then we select a random field. After that, we mark selected field as computers. Then we check if computer is a winner. And I don't think I'm going to go into details about how I check if it is a winner. Or no, wait, maybe I should. So here I'm going to add check if user is a winner, check if there are 3 X's in a row. There we go. Check if there are 3 X's in a column. And check if there are 3 X's diagonally. And then do the exact same thing for the computer. But it's not going to be X's, it's going to be O's. And let me just get my space back. Good. That was easy enough. Now I have a nice structure from my program and I know which parts of it I can do. So now it's time to fill in the blanks. And I think I want to start with letting the user select a field. That would give me something visual immediately, and it will also help me learn how I can let the computer select a field afterwards. So let me get into that. As for getting the user to click on a field, I need an event listener and a function for that. So first I'm going to have the function click on field that just console logs at click, and then I'm going to add an event listener to this field here. So that would be the document query selector, my class field, add event listener, click, call my click on field function. And this works. I can click the first one in the top corner, but I can't click any of the others. So I would need to add event listeners for them as well. But I can't really distinguish them. I could do something with a for loop, I think, if I select all of them, like document query selector all field, and then I could loop through them, and that will give me a field where I can add an event listener to each one. I think this is going to work. So let me comment that one out. Still works, still works, yes. So now I can click any field I want. Good. The next thing is to mark this field as belonging to the user. So I think that would be just as plain as saying, okay, this and text content would be, and the user is an X. So I'll just set an X. And of course, the first one is already selected as the user, but yeah, it works. I just need to clear all the fields first. I'm going to do that just here in the HTML. And I can play. Excellent, it works. And since all of this should happen after the user has clicked on a field, I'm simply going to move it in here and say, okay, let me just indent it a bit so it looks nicer. Check if there's a winner. I'm going to wait with that, but select a random field. Going to fake that. Let's just say select const selected field would be document query selector field, just like my original query selector here. That should be the first one, this one. And then I can mark it. Select, I'm going to, no, this is going to be my random field. And then say, okay, my random field text content is going to be an O. So if I click here, then the computer selects that one. Cool, I'm on a roll. I'm just going to mark this as fake and say to do replace with real random rather than fake. And then I think say, okay, if I am going to check if there is a winner, I'm going to check if there's 3 X's in a row. So I can check the first row here. What? Oh, yeah, I can't do that because the computer would always select that one. So I can never win. I need to make this a real random. So, how could I do that? Rather than selecting a field, could I select how would I select that field there? I could use the query selector all, and then rather than loop through it, yeah, let me see. Okay, I have all of them. So query selector all. Let me just get a random number.
And see, this is where it begins to go wrong, because now I'm no longer following the process. I'm not filling in blanks, and I'm not creating fakes. I'm no longer following the plan. I just invent code at random, pun intended, and wildly guessing how this could be solved, and it gets worse. So let's see.
7, 8, or 9. Console log. Let me check it. So if I click there, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 8, 1, 3, 9. It does select random numbers, and then I should just use that number. I could actually select the nth child. I think that would work. Like nth child, and then I'm going to use my random value here. I think that would work. Random number. And then yes. So when I click there, it says number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it worked. And I click there and it said 4. Yeah. And I click there and oh, it took my field. Oh, and I can take its fields. This is never going to be fair. Okay, so I need to change it so that when I have clicked the field, it shouldn't be selected anymore.
And see, what's happening now is that I'm suddenly inventing new code. I'm no longer filling in a blank or creating a fake. I'm actually adding a new step that wasn't in my original solution. And while this is okay, it sometimes happens that you figure out during programming that your solution wasn't complete. You need to be aware that it's happening. And I'm not here. I forgot everything about the process and I'm just coding.
I should be able to mark it as, yeah, now I can't click it. But I can still, and it can still take them. Can I select one that isn't disabled? I have no idea. It does have an attribute of disabled. So I could say field attribute disabled. Is it like this that I do it? Console and then select. No. How do I select a field that isn't? Let me ask.
And now I'm literally doing research. While I thought I was filling in a blank, I then figured out that I actually don't know at all how to build this part, and I should have researched it first. I'm researching some of it, but I'm thinking that I'm just fixing a programming problem. The moment I'm trying to look something up, I'm no longer coding, I'm researching, and I should treat it as such.
And selected number 2. And number 2 again. And number 7. And number 2 again. And number 2 again. And number 8. And oh, I can also select its. So when that has. That should be easy. I'm just going to disable the random field. Disabled is true. And then let me select that one. And what text content random field? It selects number 1. So it did select this one, even though it was. What?
See, and again, it's just getting worse and worse, and I'm literally programming myself into a corner here. Because this random thing that I thought I kind of knew, it turns out I have no idea how to do it. I actually do not know at this point how to solve this problem. But I just keep soldiering on. I just try things. I just throw every piece of code at it rather than take a step back and realize I don't know how to solve this. I should build a fake, a larger fake, not just for the number, but see, can I select a random field somehow? And then I would be able to continue working on my project. So, let's see how bad it goes from here.
So I think what I can do is select a random field, but if that field is then disabled, if random field disabled is equal to true, then I would have to select it again. And then it should be lit. So now I try. First it selects number 4. Yes. And it selects number 4 again. Let me just... because it doesn't do a random... And that should also be a lit. So it selected number 7, yeah. And number 5, yeah. And number 8. And it selected number 5 again, but that was... let me just console log. Select the disabled field number, random number. So I'm only writing the first selection. This process is really not impressing me actually. So let me try again. Selected. Okay, so it selected number 1. So it tries again with number 5. Excellent. And then it selected number 1 again, and then selected number 5 again. It's harder than I thought. How can I make it not select the one that is already selected? I want to disable it somehow. How can... Wait a moment. Maybe I have an idea. If I just make it into a while loop. So as long as it picks one that's disabled, it's going to try again. So let me say while it's disabled. Let me try again. And it picked number 7. Picked number 4. And now I won. It tried number 7 and then number 8. And then... How do I stop this? Nope. Okay. Phew. There we go. I'll just have to restart. I'll be back. So I got my computer back. I have restarted and everything still works. And while this while loop, pun intended, was the culprit, it continues to look for a non-disabled field when every field is taken, and then the computer just loops indefinitely. But I think that could be avoided if I just find a winner before. So I think that this is actually no longer a fake one. So I'm going to replace that comment and just clean it up. So let me check if there are 3 X's in a row. If I have X, 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 I should be declared a winner. And I could select these 3 with the same end child here. So that will be document query selector. That will be my field end child 1 for the first one. And then of course for the second and the third. And they should all have a text content of an X. So if that has a text content equal to x, and the other one has that as well, then I can just ask if that one has a text content of x, and that one, then console log 3 in a row. So let me check. If I get that one, and that one, and that one. 3 in a row. Yes, it works. But actually the computer also won right after.
Yeah, and it's hardly going to be a surprise that my check winners end up the same way as my random. I didn't really research it. Probably my solution is not complete at all. And while I do end up with a program that sort of works, I realize that I can only win if I have the top row because I forgot about the other rows, and more problems than that. So I never complete the program. I have about an hour more of coding, but I will spare you the suffering and just cut it short now and go straight to the end where I realize my mistake.
Oh, I need to check 3 in a row for this row, and for this row, and for this row. And I need to check 3 diagonally, this way, and that way. And I need to check 3 columns, this column, or this column. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, this is getting too much work. That didn't go so well. And I seem to remember that I mentioned that the process was perfect. I'm not too sure about that now, but come to think of it, I went a bit too fast with understanding the problem and understanding the solution, because I clearly had no idea how to actually select a random field once I have faked it here, and that caused me a lot of problems. So I don't know if the process is really as good as I said it should be. It must be the way I did it. So let me try a do-over. So I'm doing this entire thing over, and here is a new video that you can choose. Select that video to see it done right. Probably done right, because if I can't do it right, I won't upload it at all. So if the video is there, it's done right. So thank you for your patience, and I'm deeply sorry.